Most founders think exit readiness is about numbers, revenue, multiples, time in the market. But readiness isn't financial, it's foundational. It's about whether the business, the team, and you are prepared for what comes next. Here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. You don't become ready when the deal shows up. You become ready in the years before, through the decisions you're making when no one's watching. I've seen it over and over again. A founder spends decades building something extraordinary, and then one day says, I think it's time. But when you start looking under the hood, we discover what's really going on. They're exhausted, but afraid to step away. Their leadership team still depends on them way too much. Their purpose is tied up in a role that's about to disappear. On paper, they're ready, but emotionally, operationally, and relationally, they're miles away from the freedom that they so deeply desire. That gap between financial readiness and personal readiness, that's the danger zone. That's where the founder's exit paradox lives. You tell yourself you're waiting for a better offer, but what you're really waiting for is permission to let go. And the longer you wait, the higher the cost. Because the cost of not being ready doesn't show up just on your P&L. It shows up in the relationships, your health, and your sense of identity. Every month you delay, you trade energy and clarity for a few more lines on the balance sheet. I call it the illusion of more time. We all think we know when we're ready, but readiness isn't a moment, it's a muscle. And if you haven't been training it, that transition exposes every weakness you've ignored. So in this episode, I want to pull back the curtain on three things. Why most founders mistake momentum for readiness, why waiting feels safe but actually destroys value, and how to recognize when you're already in the early stages of your next exit, whether you admit it or not. Because the question isn't, can I sell? It's, am I ready to step into what's next? Your business will eventually run without you. The real question is, will you still know who you are when it does? Let's talk about why this problem is real and what it costs you to keep avoiding it. When people hear the words exit readiness, they picture spreadsheets, valuations, and legal documents. But what I see every day is something far more human. Founders whose business are ready to sell, but whose souls aren't ready to separate. And that disconnect is not rare. It's the rule. Here's the data. 75% of founders say they regret their exit within a year. Only 1 in 5 has a clear vision of life after the deal. And according to Exit Planning Institute, more than 70% of businesses that go to market never actually sell. Not because of price, but because the owner can't let go. That's not a financial failure. That's an identity failure. And so for you out there thinking, oh, if I have enough money, I'll be able to figure it out. Just want you to know the odds are against you. Now, think about what it takes to build a company. You spent years teaching your nervous system to run on urgency. You've trained your brain to find significance in solving problems. So when the business no longer needs you, your entire internal reward system flatlines. You're not just exiting a company, you're exiting a story that defines you. And when you don't prepare for that, it doesn't matter how much you sell for, you'll still wake up wondering why it doesn't feel like freedom. A few months ago, a founder told me, I thought getting a bag of money would fix everything, Jerome. He laughed when he said it, but there was pain behind the laugh. He realized too late that the transaction isn't the finish line. It's just a portal to that next. He spent years building an exit strategy and zero time building an exit identity. And when the wire hit, everybody disappeared and his former identity disappeared as well. Not physically, but emotionally. That's what unreadiness looks like. The reason this problem is real and urgent isn't because readiness can't be rushed. It takes years to detach your identity from your enterprise. It takes intentional design to build a life you want to grow into. And the earlier you start that, the more leverage you have in valuation and clarity and peace. Because once the due diligence clock starts ticking, it's too late to build a version of you that the next chapter requires. So yes, the problem's very real. Most founders don't fail to exit financially. They fail to exit psychologically. The price of waiting isn't just emotional, it's immeasurable. In the next part, I'll break down what it costs to avoid this work in dollars and relationships and momentum, and how to stop the bleeding before it starts. Every founder believes waiting buys more time. But in truth, waiting is one of the most expensive decisions you'll ever make. The market doesn't wait, your energy doesn't wait, your life doesn't wait, and the people around you definitely don't wait. Let's talk about the bill of avoidance and how much that really costs. Every quarter you stay emotionally checked out, but operationally in control, your business loses value. A founder-dependent company trades at a discount, sometimes 30, 50% less than the one that can run without you. You may be asking, why is that? I'll never forget when a mentor told me, the more valuable I am to the business, the less valuable my business is. But here's the truth. Buyers don't want to purchase you. They want to purchase a system. They want to purchase an income stream. And if the income stream is dependent on the founder, then they got to have you come with them. And the longer you postpone building those systems, the more you quietly burn your wealth. I've seen founders turn down 8-figure offers thinking they could grow just one more year. By the time they were ready, the market shifted, the key levers had left, and the same buyer was only willing to offer half. Waiting doesn't protect value, it erodes it. So if the time is now, take advantage of it. Strike while the iron is hot. The second bill comes due in your relationships. When you're restless, but pretending everything's fine around you, everyone feels the tension. Your spouse feels the distance. The kids see you physically present, but emotionally elsewhere. Your team senses you've checked out, but they don't have permission to talk about it. Avoidance isolates you. You start believing no one understands the pressure you carry. And that's when resentment quietly replaces gratitude. I get it. I've been there. I've helped other people through it. But I know how you feel. You think nobody gets it. I once worked with a founder whose company hit 9 figures. His wife told him, I don't recognize you anymore. That's the unreadiness cost. Not money, but connection. And there's one more cost we should talk about. And this one keeps me up at night. When you delay your next chapter, you train your identity to disappear behind your title. You become CEO first, human second. And when the title goes away, as it always does, you're left staring at a version of yourself you've neglected. This is why so many founders spiral after the liquidity event. They didn't lose the company, they lost their compass. And in losing their compass, they got lost. Don't let that be you, because all of this is completely avoidable. Financial erosion, relational strain, and identity drift all compound silently. And the longer you delay the conversation, the work of figuring out your next, the fewer options you'll have. By the time founders call me, they're usually not looking for strategy. They're looking for oxygen. They've built a machine that consumes every ounce of their time, and they can't tell where their business ends and they begin. The tragedy is that most of this could have been avoided if they started preparing when things still looked good. Avoidance always feels logical in the moment. You tell yourself, I'll deal with that later. But later becomes years, and years becomes the new pattern. And then one day you wake up and everything you ever wanted and realize you traded your piece of performance for is gone. That's the real cost of waiting. So if waiting costs you money, connection, and identity, what does readiness actually look like? I'm glad you asked. So in this next part, I'll walk you through how to build it before the pressure hits so you can exit by design and not by default. Let's break this down into 3 levels: operational, emotional, and strategic. Operational readiness is simply, can the business run without you? This is the foundation. A founder-dependent company isn't sellable, it's fragile. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Can the business generate predictable cash flow without my daily involvement? Simple yes or no. Do I have leaders who can make a decision without waiting for me? If I disappear for 90 days, will the company keep growing? If the answer to any of these is no, you're not operational ready. In fact, you're necessary. And being necessary might feel flattering, but it definitely kills your freedom and your valuation. Start building systems that scale leadership, not just revenue. Document what lives in your head. Make sure you empower your people. That's how you buy back your time and your options. And if we dig into emotional readiness, I simply want to answer one question. Can you let go without losing yourself? This is where so many founders fail. You spent decades trying to prove your worth through performance. So the idea of stepping away feels like you're erasing yourself. But here's the paradox. The more identity you build outside of the business, the more confidently you can lead inside. Ask yourself questions like this. Who am I beyond the title? What lights me up if it isn't tied to results? What relationships or passion have I postponed until I have time? Those aren't soft questions. These are the things that are going to allow you to survive. Because purpose is the fuel you need when you no longer have the business to provide the adrenaline that you're running on. The founders who thrive post-exit start building a new identity long before the deal. Now, the third one, strategy. Most people have a plan for what they're exiting from. Stress, meeting investors, whatever. But very few know what they're exiting to. And that's why we created the next framework. We want you to nourish, then evaluate, explore, and then transcend. It's the roadmap of aligning your next chapter with who you're becoming. Nourish. You're rebuilding energy in the relationships that you neglected, especially the relationship with yourself. Evaluate. You want to clarify what truly matters, not what mattered 5 years ago. Explore. You want to experiment with what gives you purpose and flow. And then transcend. You want to step fully into the light that reflects who you are, not what you build. When you know what you're exiting to, you stop clinging to what you're exiting from. You're not holding on to that piece of scrap from a wrecked ship in the middle of the ocean. You step onto the new island and you begin to build that life there. Operational readiness protects your business. Emotional readiness protects your identity. Strategic readiness protects your future. When we align all three, you're not just ready to exit, you're ready to evolve. And that's why our work at Exit to Excellence starts years before the transaction. We help founders close the gap between financial success and personal fulfillment while they still have the leverage that they need in order to take advantage of this opportunity. So take a second and ask yourself, if I sell my business tomorrow, what would I wake up excited to do the next day? If you can't answer that with clarity and conviction, that's not failure, that's feedback. It means your next evolution is calling. In the final part of today's episode, I'll show you how to start today. Some small, concrete steps to build readiness and momentum before the market or life makes a decision for you. If you've been listening, you're realizing that you're not as ready as you thought. That's good news, because readiness isn't a finish line, it's a practice. You don't fix this with a single decision, you build it through momentum. So let's really dig into these simple but powerful ways you can start today. One, you want to get clear on your current position. Before you can plan the next move, you need to know where you really are. Take 10 minutes this week and walk through our exit readiness assessment. It's available at exittoexcellence.com/ERA. We ask you questions across 7 different areas. These areas are vision, finance, operations, relationships, emotions, legacy, and support system to understand your alignment and your readiness in each one of those categories. Most founders are shocked when they see that the lowest scores aren't about money, but they're about clarity. You can't build a meaningful next chapter from confusion. You need a compass, not a calculator, contrary to what most people will give you as guidance. Then you want to reclaim 1 hour a week for future design. Find 1 hour, just one. That's not consumed by operations, firefighting, dealing with the whirlwind of the company. Use it to think, not to react. We want to answer questions like, what's one decision I'm avoiding because I'm afraid of what it might change? What would I build or fix if I knew I had 2 years left as CEO? Protecting that hour like a board meeting with your future self, because the most dangerous thing a founder can do is lose. Because the most dangerous thing a founder can lose isn't capital, it's curiosity. Yeah. This is probably the hardest step, but we want to start the conversation early. It's admitting you're in transition before anyone else can see it. Maybe you tell one trusted advisor, a peer, maybe a spouse, and it goes something like this. I'm beginning to think about what comes next. Not because I'm leaving, but because I want to stay in control. Saying it out loud breaks the illusion that you have to wait for a crisis to evolve. The single conversation can unlock options that take years to rebuild if you keep them bottled up. Those three actions, an assessment, protective reflection, and a conversation, build the muscle of readiness. They shift from reacting to designing. And if you make them a habit, the next time opportunity knocks, you won't be scrambling to become ready. You'll already be walking through the door. So as we close, I'll leave you with this. The best exits aren't timed, they're earned. Earn yours by starting today. If you want a place to begin, take the exit readiness assessment. Again, that's available at exittoexcellence.com/ERA. You'll see exactly which part of your foundation needs attention and what to do next. Because waiting feels safe until it costs everything that actually matters. The transaction isn't the finish line, it's a portal to your next. Your dreams should be real. We'll catch you on the next episode.